This week's signal cut clean through the noise. North Korea's crypto theft tally surged toward the multi-billion mark, reminding boards that digital assets are now a national security adjacency. Let's get started. North Korea's $2 billion crypto heist problem. What happened? Intelligence teams and blockchain analysts estimate that state-linked North Korean groups have stolen roughly $2 billion in cryptocurrency this year. They're hitting centralized exchanges, cross-chain bridges, and decentralized finance projects, most often through stolen private keys, compromised build systems, or abused application programming interfaces. Once funds move, the actors launder them quickly, mixers, peel chains, and cross-chain swaps, so recovery windows are short. Operational security has improved, leaving fewer on-chain mistakes to trace. This is a sustained, industrialized campaign, not a one-off spike. Why it matters? This is geopolitical risk that hits the balance sheet. If your business holds tokens, clears customer withdrawals, or connects to exchanges through trading bots and partner integrations, you face sanctions exposure and direct financial loss even if you never brand yourself a crypto company. A single compromised key can drain hot wallets. A loose partner permission can enable large, silent exfiltration. Action: cut hot wallet balances immediately. Require hardware security modules for every key operation, and add out-of-band human approvals for large or unusual withdrawals. Salesforce extortion wave puts customer exports at risk. What happened? Extortion actors posted claims and sample data tied to organizations that use Salesforce, while Salesforce confirmed a third-party incident and publicly refused to pay. Even when a core platform remains up, exported reports, connected applications, and long-lived access tokens at partners can still be abused. Attackers are leaning on that ecosystem: old exports and cloud storage, generous integration scopes, and unattended data jobs to pressure victims and to stage targeted phishing. Why it matters: customer relationship platforms concentrate sales pipelines, support histories, and billing metadata. That's exactly the kind of information that powers convincing fraud and competitive leakage. If your exports are sprawling or your connected apps have broad scopes, you may be leaking business advantage without a single server failure. Action: cap export permissions today, revoke unused OAuth tokens, restrict admin access using allow-listed IP ranges, and enable event monitoring on bulk reports and high-volume API jobs. Oracle e-Business Suite under active attack. What happened? Investigators observed a zero-day being used against Oracle e-Business Suite to steal finance, human resources, and procurement data. In multiple cases, intrusions progressed from web tiers into databases, staged large exports after hours, and then delivered extortion emails to executives. Exploitation accelerated once partial details became public. Custom interfaces, exposed admin endpoints, and shared credentials widened the attack surface in many enterprises. Why it matters: enterprise resource planning runs payments and payroll. This is a board-level risk with regulatory and contractual consequences. Executive decisions are required: downtime windows, emergency change approvals, and immediate key rotations across integrations. Action: approve emergency patching now. If maintenance must wait, geofence admin interfaces, enforce phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication, rotate database and integration credentials, and monitor closely for unusual export jobs and new privileged accounts. A critical Redis flaw opens the door to takeovers. What happened? Redis maintainers disclosed and fixed a severe weakness in Lua scripting paths that can allow sandbox escape and remote code execution under common configurations. Cloud-native teams often run Redis at scale for sessions, caching, and queues. Some instances are still reachable from untrusted networks or inherit permissive defaults. Researchers have published detections, and scanning typically spikes after Redis advisories as attackers chase lagging patches. Why it matters: Redis sits on the critical path for many applications. A host-level compromise can cascade into account takeover, data tampering, and outages across multiple services. Ownership is often ambiguous: platform, app, or site reliability engineering, which slows response. Action: upgrade immediately, bind Redis to private networks, require authentication, disable Lua where not needed, and rotate credentials after patch to invalidate harvested secrets. Hackers are targeting Cisco firewalls, and exploit code is public. What happened? A chain impacting Cisco Adaptive Security Appliance and Firepower devices enables authentication bypass against internet-facing management or virtual private network portals, and public proof of concept code raises the chance of rapid exploitation. Organizations are applying interim mitigations while rolling vendor fixes and tightening interface exposure. Why it matters? Edge firewalls sit at trust boundaries and hold sensitive credentials. Compromise grants deep access and complicates containment across remote sites. Environments that depend on remote access or have distributed offices are most exposed. Action: apply vendor fixes or mitigations now. If you can't, remove public management exposure, enforce certificate-based VPN authentication with phishing-resistant factors, and alert on configuration drift, new local admins, and unexpected reloads. Zimbra email bug actively exploited and now listed by CISA. What happened? A flaw in Zimbra collaboration suite that executes malicious code during calendar invite parsing moved into the known exploited vulnerabilities catalog after confirmed real-world abuse. Adversaries send booby-trapped.ics files that, when parsed by servers or clients, allow mailbox takeover, creation of hidden forwarding rules, and lateral movement into internal systems. Patches exist, but many on-prem deployments lag, and some gateways still auto-ingest calendar metadata. Why it matters? Email is the control plane for approvals and credentials, so mailbox compromise becomes a launchpad for wire fraud, vendor impersonation, and data theft. Public sector, education, and mid-market organizations that run on-prem mail with auto-processing are the most exposed. Action: patch immediately. If maintenance must wait, block unsolicited calendar attachments at the gateway, disable auto-ingestion from unknown senders, and alert on new inbox rules and suspicious token grants. Go Anywhere file transfer flaw leveraged in ransomware attacks. What happened? A maximum severity vulnerability in Go Anywhere managed file transfer is being used for initial access and extortion, with activity linked to the Medusa ecosystem. Actors target internet-exposed admin portals, harvest credentials, drop web shells, and quietly exfiltrate partner files before threatening encryption. Several organizations mitigated by taking portals offline or geofencing access while patching and rotating keys. Why it matters? Managed file transfer nodes aggregate regulated data and partner feeds, so one breach creates multi-company exposure and contractual obligations. Healthcare, finance, manufacturing, and logistics with heavy B2B exchange are most at risk. Action: patch now. If you can't, pull portals off the internet, enforce multi-factor and IP allow listing, rotate service accounts and keys, and monitor reverse proxy logs for unusual paths and large archive pulls. Microsoft 365 and Azure front door outages disrupted work. What happened? Capacity and dependency issues at the cloud edge caused intermittent failures across Microsoft 365 admin portals, Teams meetings, and Exchange Online mail flow. Regions saw sign-in errors, blocked console access, and delayed delivery until mitigations rebalanced capacity. No data loss was reported, but reliability concerns remain while post-incident reviews complete. Why it matters? When identity and collaboration stumble, operations slow down. Incidents linger, approvals stall, and customer interactions suffer. Organizations centralized on a single suite feel outsized impact if outage mode playbooks are untested. Action: publish and rehearse a collaboration failover runbook today, including alternate chat channels, phone bridges, status webhooks to on-call, and break glass admin accounts that work when portals do not. Attackers are mass scanning Palo Alto Global Protect VPN portals. What happened? Internet sensors recorded a 5-time surge in probes against Global Protect and related login paths, a pattern that often precedes broad exploitation or credential spray campaigns. Even without a brand new vulnerability, actors routinely revisit older flaws, weak multi-factor policies, and password-only configurations to gain footholds at scale. Why it matters? Remote access gateways sit at the front door of hybrid work. Weaknesses here translate into company-wide exposure. Enterprises with legacy VPN settings, permissive external exposure, or inconsistent phishing-resistant multi-factor are prime targets. Action: enforce phishing-resistant multi-factor on all portals, remove password-only logins, restrict exposure with geo and velocity limits, and alert on unusual user agents, headless browsers, and spikes in failed authentication. A critical bug in Dell Unity VSA could wipe backups. What happened? Dell released fixes for Unity VSA virtual storage arrays to address an unauthenticated remote command execution flaw in management services that control storage, replication, and snapshots. Internet-exposed or poorly segmented deployments are especially at risk, and high-availability pairs require coordinated upgrades to avoid drift and blind spots. Why it matters? Storage control planes underpin recovery. Compromise can delete snapshots, poison replication, and turn a routine incident into prolonged downtime. Branch labs and virtualized storage in lightly controlled networks face elevated risk. Action: upgrade Unity VSA immediately. If maintenance must wait, isolate management interfaces behind admin subnets and jump hosts with multi-factor, and monitor for unexpected snapshot deletions, replication changes, and new admin sessions. Red Hat data theft becomes an extortion flashpoint. What happened? Red Hat disclosed theft of internal consulting repositories, while the Shiny Hunters group escalated pressure by posting samples and threatening staged leaks. The material reportedly includes customer engagement reports and architecture artifacts, documents that often capture network diagrams, integration notes, and sometimes credentials shared during advisory work. Red Hat says product supply chain integrity remains intact, but screenshots and snippets have raised anxiety among large customers as investigations, token rotations, and notifications proceed. Why it matters? Consulting artifacts are roadmaps. If your organization ever shared VPN details, service accounts, or topology during an engagement, those clues can short-circuit an attacker's recon and speed lateral movement. Leaders should request a written exposure letter and remediation memo. What was accessed, what secrets have been rotated, and what monitoring is in place. Action: proactively rotate any credentials or tokens ever shared in Red Hat consulting contexts, tighten Git and artifact access, and enable focused monitoring for logins from new geographies and unusual repository polls. Discord support breach exposed government IDs and ticket data. What happened? A third-party support provider tied to Discord was compromised, exposing support tickets, email addresses, IPs, and a subset of government ID images collected for verification. Discord invalidated exposed tokens, engaged law enforcement, and began notifications, while reiterating that core production systems were not breached. The most immediate risk is social engineering that references real past tickets to win trust. Why it matters? Verified ID workflows create long-tail risk even when the breach is limited. Attackers can reuse document images for account recovery fraud or identity proofing elsewhere, and support transcripts can supercharge spear phishing. Organizations that run large communities, brands, or developer programs on Discord should assume targeted scams will follow. Action: enforce phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication for community managers. Raise awareness about ticket-themed lures and require step-up verification on any account recovery or verification change. Malware is riding inside Microsoft Teams chats. What happened? Threat actors increasingly abuse native Teams features, external federation, file sharing, and app consent prompts to deliver payloads and persist through OAuth tokens that survive password resets. Because messages originate inside a trusted collaboration client, traditional email gateways never see the first hop, and users are more likely to click or grant scopes. Telemetry shows follow-on access to SharePoint, OneDrive, and Microsoft Graph after consent. Why it matters? Collaboration suites are now the new fish surface. Organizations that allow broad external federation, unmanaged devices, or self-service app consent are granting attackers durable footholds that look like normal work. Leaders should revisit federation policy and consent governance with explicit exceptions rather than open by default. Action: restrict external chats to an allow-listed set of tenants, require admin approval for high-risk scopes, and alert on new OAuth grants and unusual graph activity tied to recently created apps. Ransomware crews are hiding in legitimate remote access tools. What happened? Incident responders continue to find affiliates persisting with commercial remote access and remote management software such as AnyDesk, Screen Connect, and SplashTop. These tools blend into allowed traffic, can be silently redeployed by configuration systems, and often survive password resets. Adversaries use them for quiet staging, data theft, and re-encryption days or weeks after recovery, sometimes with signed binaries that end up whitelisted. Why it matters? Post-compromise persistence is now indistinguishable from normal IT activity unless you have strict ownership and logging. Managed service providers and enterprises with broad admin tooling face elevated risk if they lack an executive-approved allow list and centralized telemetry. Leaders should treat remote tool governance as a policy issue, not just an EDR rule. Action. Enforce conditional access and a hard allow list for remote tools. Require signed packages and admin group installation. And during response hunts, search for new services, scheduled tasks, and beacons from atypical hosts. SonicWall breach exposed firewall backups company-wide. What happened? SonicWall confirmed that attackers accessed backups for all customers using its cloud firewall backup service, not merely a small subset as initially thought. Those backups include device configurations, network objects, policies, and sometimes tokens or credentials. The company revoked exposed tokens, rotated keys, and is guiding customers through resets and integrity checks, but configuration intelligence alone can fuel highly targeted follow-on attacks. Why it matters? Configs are blueprints. They reveal trust relationships, inbound rules, and policy gaps that make privilege escalation and lateral movement easier. Mid-market and distributed environments with many edge appliances are especially exposed. Leaders should classify this as a material third-party incident and brief stakeholders on residual risk windows and compensating controls. Action. Rotate every device credential and token, regenerate clean backups, compare current configs to golden baselines, and enable strict change monitoring across edge policies. That's the Daily Cyber News Weekly Wrap for the week ending October 10th, 2025. The theme is clear. Protect identities, harden the edges, and control the copies of your data, because that's where attackers, outages, and extortion all converge. If this helped you make a sharper call, share it with your team and subscribe to the Daily Audio at dailycyber.news. I'm signing off. Stay safe out there.